Of course, getting a legend and a name deserving as Reyes on that cup, but bringing Manila back in the scene, right? I think that's a huge part because they're such a huge part of our sport.
It was incredible to look at the enthusiasm and the excitement that Efren Reyes generated when he came to visit the Hanoi Open. When we were there back in October and he played that exhibition match, a huge crowd there for us.
Yeah, it's just all kinds of special things with that Reyes Cup announcement. You know, unfortunately, Mosconi wasn't around to see that first Mosconi Cup, but Efren will be, and it's going to be something special come October.
Yeah, Willie Mosconi died the year before the first ever Mosconi Cup was played. Perhaps these two will be facing each other in the Reyes Cup later in the year. Today, though, they square off in the first round of the World Masters, and it's the defending champion to get us underway.
I think if we could talk about anything different from last year for Complacency that I've seen so far here in 2024 is the break shot. Not saying it's been bad by any means, but not quite as consistent as it was in 2023. But we did see this yesterday, a lot of kind of clusters after the break, a lot of difficult racks. The first match was some 2 hours long. Very similar players as far as the cue ball, very tidy with the cue ball, very smart. One advantage I would give to Complacency is a little bit on the long shot. Okay, this kind of opened up a little bit. There's a lot of distance, you know, talking about the long ball. David, though, tactically, one of the best in the game. He's looking at a very difficult combination, and I say why you may shoot that because the safety is very difficult as well. See a 2-5 onto the purple 5 ball.
David Alcaide, number 8 in the world, and that's an improvement of 1 place already since the start of the year. Big leap forward across 2023, having started the year in 17th place.
He's going to play a mild safety behind the black 8 here. It's like a little light with the cue ball. We'll see how Complacency's feeling quickly here in game number 1. Does he go for the long rail bank? Back to the pocket he's standing over. Does he play the cue ball back behind the 3? I kind of like the bank myself. Got a way to get a little cover with the pink 4 and the black 8. Looks like he's going to go with the safety, though. Really good touch.
Yeah, the way you put it, Jeremy, was that it wasn't the best PLP for David Alcaide. In fact, he finished last in the field of 16.
Yeah, and it was a very good PLP for his opponent, finishing second to SVB, which we'll see later in the evening session. And a nice hit, but it is going to surrender an offensive shot. Very difficult out, though. You can see the pink 4 covered up by the 8, so possible combination there. Certainly a combination on the 6-7. No real way to run the cue ball and get short side off the red 3 to the pink 4, so.
Yeah, the PLP we're referring to is the Premier League pool, which was played in Connecticut just a few weeks ago. Such a tough event to get through. If you do well in that, there's been no luck involved, no draw opening up, anything like that. You have earned it over and over again. You had a fine win in the semi-finals against Joshua Filler. And then friend Shane Van Boening fairly close in the final. The American coming through 7-4 in the end.
Yeah, and I think, you know, shorter races, of course, but I think it's a very mentally challenging event. You can have a lot of ups and downs. Zelensky really started off hot in that event. Was the leader the first 2 days before SVB took over. Then SVB had a lull for about a day and a half, but came back strong at the end.
We've seen some players crack in that format, really, and it's all part of the unique appeal of the Premier League.
Yeah, Alban Ocean, who has started off slow in that event and then made some huge moves to win it, really had the same issues this year. Started off slow, but then never really got going. I think Copini was debating a safety there for a moment, but now going to take on the combo.
Having missed it, he's left a chance at the very same 4-8 combination for his Spanish opponent.
And you can see even on day 2, maybe the pocket's playing a bit more difficult. These are 4-inch pockets, but again, with the slick felt, the new felt, clean balls, they're going to slide in here and there. Okay, does he come underneath the 9 to fall on this right side rail?
David Alcaide's World Masters story has been a tale of extremes. He's either lost his opening match or gone all the way to the final every time he's played in it.
I think the most incredible stat I've heard today, I think I heard it yesterday as well, was that was Shaw's first win in 6 years here in the Whirlpool Masters. That tells you how difficult the event is. Now David's another player who's made an equipment change in the last few months. People think that that doesn't take some time. It certainly does.
Well, the missed combination left the chance for Alcaide. There was still plenty to do, but he's done it, and David Alcaide has won the first rack. Just going back to that Reyes Cup announcement, Jeremy, I was looking at the world rankings after it. Now, let's look at the top 5 Asians as an example just of the sort of team they could have. The Ko brothers, Aloysius Yap, Naoyuki Oi, and Carlo Beato. They're the top 5 Asian players. Then you consider the other players who could be in contention to be in the team. You've got Johan Chua, World Cup winner, James Aranis, his partner in that, Anton Raga. You've got the Chinese players as well. It's such a formidable potential team that Asia are going to have. For the time being, at least, it's clearly going to be a much more evenly matched contest, even than the Mosconi.
Yeah, I mean, you got JL Chang, you got all kinds of players, and I think that announcement, of course, is going to promote much more play on the World Nineball Tour as we look at the world rankings.
Yeah, top 14 got in off this, and then a couple of wild cards as well. Moritz Neuhausen, I know, would have loved to play in this event in his home country, coming up just short there. It's a 2-year rolling system now, and we've reached the stage in it where points are starting to be taken off, because it began at the start of 2022, and then it was just a case of points being added on all the way through to the end of 23. But now, of course, some of those points have been there for 2 years, so they've now come off, and we're into the business of players trying to defend points, and that's going to be particularly relevant in a few months' time when Francisco Sanchez Ruiz heads into defending all those points he won in that golden spell where he won the US Open and the World. Very tough to hold on to the #1 spot through all that. Alcaide 1-0 up.
Oh, 9-ball.
Watch the 9. Oh, it was threatening, JJ.
Yeah, maybe threatening here in a few shots with a good look on the 1. And I was going to say, David is one of the players that, you know, we have a kind of a rule with a forceful break to where he can have a tendency to break a little light, a little questionable at times, but there had a lot more speed. I like the look. Now looking to fall on this 2 in the side. He's got a possible combination on the red 3 into the 9 later.
Yeah, there's a system of warnings and ultimately forfeiture for not doing a sufficiently forceful break, but there's no scientific measure of it. It's all down to the referee's interpretation.
Yeah, and I think more of that is if you see it repeatedly, right? You see something that's continuous. And he came for the side here. I was wondering, he could easily play for the corner and have nice position on the 2 to fall on that 3-9. Now having to go into the brown 7. There's the 7 gonna, ooh, look at this. All he needs is a sliver of the red. I think he did get a piece, but he'd like to be a little more above this, especially if the 3 is frozen, easy to get a double kiss. Usually if you want to avoid the double kiss, you put a bit more speed on this kiss shot.
Extension called.
This problem really kind of arose from the position play on the blue 2. I think if he hits it light, he gets a double kiss and maybe doesn't even contact the 9. Wow, how thin was that on the red 3?
Yeah, it was a 3-9 carom with which Copenhagen clinched this title last year. David Alcaide trying to produce one of his own.
And I'd look at the cut shot on the 3. The 9 makes for a very big pocket. You don't have to hit it clean to the hole. I gotta believe he's gonna attack Michael. Very open center of the table. He'll run the cue ball up and down. Very surprising he played safe there, or attempted a safety on the red 3.
Yeah, we saw a few players just take a while to settle into the unique environment of the World Masters yesterday. And maybe there might have been an element of that there. He wasn't feeling sufficiently comfortable yet to attack it.
Yeah, I wonder if he recognized how big the pocket was with the 9 there. This is where David really excels, just always playing the right speed on these kick shots. And all that is trying to heighten your percentage. Now he can see a piece of the 3 here, but is there any future playing off that sliver of the red 3? They go with the kick shot.
Extension called.
Now for accuracy's sake, because he does have to put a hair spin here. You may not see a lot of speed, somewhere around medium. Maybe trying to utilize the pink 4. Watch out, Nineball. He's going to get a little action, maybe serving up a combination. Difficult situation here. I don't know if he can attack. Is that a natural scratch to the upper right with the cue ball? If he plays to overcut the 3 and run the cue ball, the 9 is a dangerous kind of position where he may leave some type of bank on the 9. Oh, he's caught it thin. He's going to need some help with the cue ball. He's going to surrender a pretty easy shot.
Well, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz and David Alcaide are great mates, best friends really. And they're always watching each other's matches. Sanchez Ruiz has more reason than ever to watch this one, because if he gets through later today against James Aranis, he will face the winner of this.
shot here. Just a little draw stroke off the pink 4. Probably plays the 5 and the purple 5 in the left middle. Should be a kiss shot on the 9 off the brown 7 to end rack number 2.
Mentioned earlier that every time Alcaide has played in the World Masters, which is 8 previous occasions, he's either lost his first match or gone all the way to the final, into 3 World Masters finals and won 2 of them.
Wanted this cue ball to come out a little bit. That way when he plays the kiss shot, he really doesn't have to draw the cue ball much off the 7. Maybe a little left spin.
Well, attempted the carom earlier to complete a break and run in this second rack. Didn't work out for him, but eventually he has won it. So David Alcaide leads Copigny 2-0. So those 2 World Masters wins, both in Hill finishes against Jason Shaw in 2017, as we look at the winning moment there again, and the other against Alexander Kazakis in 2019, Jeremy, which I think was arguably the most famous match in this tournament's history.
Yeah, it was a little, talked about the safety played on the 9. Could have went for the bank shot, that being Kazakis. Played a great safety as far as the 9's concerned, but you never get a snooker when it's the bare ball. And one of the best bank shots you'll ever see for the cash from David Alcaide.
Yeah, and Alcaide had been 5-0 down to Kazakis in that match. Although the next time the tournament was played, Kazakis did win it with a 9-0 win over Shane Van Bonen in the final. Interestingly, though, that win against Kazakis, even though it is 5 years ago, is the last match Alcaide won in the World Masters, because we had no tournament in 2020 during COVID, and the last 3 years he's gone out in his first match. One of those, indeed, was against Copigny 2 years ago, the last time it was played in Gibraltar. So he's won 2 World Masters titles. Something else he's won 2 of are racks in this match. And starts us off in the 3rd.
Well, not to be like rack number 2, but I do like the speed on the break. I think that's going to be an improvement for David. You see the 9 moving a little bit, and we talked about that yesterday. When we have a little more movement on the 9, it gets kissed around quite a bit, but when it moves on its own, it can be a little bit of an inconsistency with the rack.
You know, it's funny going back to what we were talking about there with the system of warnings for not doing a sufficiently forceful break. I can think of maybe 3 instances last year where I saw a player actually being warned for that reason. And every time when they started breaking more forcefully, they actually ended up playing better as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Saw that, I think, with Alex Pagulayan there in a big match against Filler, I think it was.
At the World Championship.
That's right. Okay, a safety behind the red 3 and the blue 2. I'm gonna say with the 6 there, it could be a little awkward, and this has gotten away. Not a mistake you see very often. I think the 6 kind of played in his mind a little bit. Should have been a little more focus on the cue ball. Now, looks like, of course, it's day 2, but it's early. The pocket's playing a little more generous than they will, of course, as days go on. So maybe the 2 slides, the blue 2 slides by the red 3. Difficult shot on the 1, though. Does he keep it simple here? Does he really run the cue ball behind the green 6 and the 9? Some gaps. And this is going to get an opening for a similar safety behind the 3 as he banks the 2 back down. 2 should come, the blue 2 should come kind of at the pink a little bit. So far a little out of sorts with the cue ball. A little look to the pool gods there from Copigny. Not too happy with his performance so far.
Bit of a contrast to last year when he was so quick out of the blocks. His first match against Jason Shaw, ended up winning at 9-1.
Extension called.
On from there to beat Shane Van Boning, James Aranis, and then that comfortable win in the end against Declan Catchy in the final.
I think I like cutting at this blue 2, trying to go into the green 6 with the cue ball. Looks like he may be playing a little inside spin. Wow, what a shot. So he's confident right now, because there's a lot of ways he could have played that, that being maybe one of the most difficult. People always ask about the differences in, of course, snooker and 9-ball pool, and the dynamic is the spin on the cue ball from shot to shot. Okay, looks like he's going to play for the pink 4 to the lower left. Could kind of go into the 8 if he wanted. Could draw one rail over for the purple 5 in the lower right. Has options.
Talked about his Premier League performance. So disappointing to finish last in that field of 16, but he has shown form on a number of occasions in some of the smaller ranking events so far in 2024. Picked up plenty of points along the way, and indeed just a few weeks ago, playing in the FSR Open, faced FSR, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, in the final. Lost that one. That was in Lugo, where we were for 2 weeks last summer for the Spanish Open and then the World Cup.
Yeah, gonna fall over the 7, a little off angle. Has to get a little bit into the cue ball to move it. You may simplify things here with the black 8 so playable. Maybe take a hair distance. No, he's going forward around the 9, maybe. Okay. Wow, so David has come with some shots here to start. Savvy vet like David also, and you know, he'll reflect on losses or maybe a poor PLP and kind of figure out what was going on. And oh my, just almost exactly what I was thinking or gonna say, Michael, is, you know, I looked at maybe shooting some shots a little tentative and decided, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and swing the cue. We've already seen it in a few, and now on the softer side, the brown 7 has got the best of them.
How often do we see this, where a player has work to do, got to figure it all out, and then got to execute the plan, and he's done the hard part, and then goes and misses something like that? As we've seen so often, a whole match can turn on something like that. Just moments ago, it was looking inevitable that Alcaide was going to lead 3-0, and that's a cushion. 2-1, barely a lead at all in the winner breaks format.
Yeah, a nice feeling for Copigny to get on the board going to the break.
He was absolutely handed that one in the end, wasn't he? Alcaide's very surprising miss on the 7, his last involvement in that rack. Copigny has won it. The defending champion is off and running. He now trails 2-1. We've been talking about this for about 5 years now, haven't we? But today, it's finally been announced and confirmed. This is the big news today, the Reyes Cup. Europe, as holders of the Mosconi Cup, will take on Asia from the 17th to the 20th of October in the pool-mad city of Manila in the Philippines. So many more announcements to come in terms of captaincy and crowd size and all the rest of it when it comes to that event. And there you can see it's now added to the calendar. UK Open coming up week after next. Then we're off to Saudi Arabia for the World Pool Championship in early June. European Open returning for the 3rd year in a row in Fulda. And only a week after that finishes, it's the US Open. Reyes Cup and Moscone Cup towards the end of the year. And rest assured, there will be many more big announcements about additional dates and big events over the coming weeks and months. This week, we're in Germany for the World Masters. The defending champion is 2-1 down.
Not the one in the side we're used to seeing, but he's happy to see it fall in the corner, just inches away from the blue too. So you got to believe he's going to attack, even though not easy. Bit more angle on this blue too, so he'll stun to the long right rail. Use the top cushion to come kind of mildly at the 3. Love to get to the head string there. You can see. Let's call it the head string or the kitchen, the box near the drawn lines across from the long rail to long rail.
Mentioned earlier how David Alcaide has lost his opening match on each of his last 3 appearances in the World Masters after all that success over the years. Copenhagen's relationship with this tournament has gone the other way because his first 3 appearances, he didn't win a single match. Since then, everything has changed. Semi-finalist 2 years ago, a winner in Brentwood last year.
Would have loved a little more angle on the pink 4. Should be enough to get across. And again, when you're here, don't feel like you have to get that proper angle on the purple 5. You can come across, handle a little angle to draw off the purple 5 to get to the green 6. Easily overlook the black 8 hanging in the lower corner. Oh, that's a bit better. More of this kind of striking we're used to seeing from Copenhagen. What a big miss on that 7 ball. David Alcaide in the last game. It is a winner break format, so all the mistakes can be compounded.
It's amazing how quickly things can change in this game. What was it, about 5 or 6 minutes ago? Alcaide looked to have a formality standing between him and 3-0, and now, in all probability, a few moments' time, he'll be back all square.
The Coe brothers. Oh, that ball rolled much further than he anticipated. Lucky to be not really kind of off angle on this 9.
Yeah. Sometimes, often in fact, the extra ball dropping in is to your detriment rather than your advantage. But it's all worked out for Copenhagen in this case. The first break and run from either player in this first round contest. And from 2-0 down, Copenhagen has got it all the way back to level at 2-all. Shane Van Boning was that one World Masters champion who came back and successfully defended the title in 2015. That's what Copenhagen is trying to emulate. These were the final moments, so the intention here was to play the 7 onto the 8, pot the 8, leave the 7 over the pocket and have a simple positional shot onto the 9. 7 dropping as well wasn't in the plan, so as you said, JJ, a bit fortunate that he had position on the 9 anyway, because that wasn't what he was playing for, and that's deposited in the side pocket.
Yeah, and you'll see, of course, breaking with the carbon fiber shaft, but the Coe brothers, some of the few left that do play with the maple shaft, the wood shaft, as they're playing with their playing cue. You think about the way the game's growing, of course, when it comes to the hardware in the game, it's gone through the roof as the technology. I think you're going to see much more as far as the analytics in the game as it keeps on growing.
And you know, the manufacturers know there's a massive market out there, particularly in Asia and in your home country. They're always trying to come up with something new to claim their share of the market. Copenhagen has claimed his share of the racks so far, level at 2-all.
Yeah, and that's more of the strike that took him to this title last year. Wouldn't say really too much of an offensive play on the blue 2. Does have a cross corner bank. Combination onto the black 8, maybe a little risky. Some safeties there. He could kind of bang the 2 around near the 6, trying to use maybe the 3 or the 9. He's looking at the combination, and he's just asking himself, if he plays the 2 like the black 8 isn't there, plays the 2 down the rail, what's the percentages on making that black 8? Don't think, the more I look at it, I don't think the combination's that bad, especially if he feels like he can track the cue ball maybe 2 rails between the red 3 and the pink 4. Looks like a safety though. Yeah, it's not going to get it. That's going to. The safety side of things has really been quite off for Copigny here early.
So Alcaide's first return to the table since that dreadful miss on the 7 a couple of racks ago.
He's kind of sizing up a little thin on the blue 2, looking for a pocket.
Extension call.
Could maybe go into the 6 a couple cushions. Kind of like that as much as anything. He's kind of sized up a 3-9 combo. Red 3 onto the 9, but whew, it's awfully tough. The 3 does go by the green 6 in the lower left. You may see him go into the 6 here. Cue ball. I think that's just a percentage play there. I mean, you may not come away with that great of a shot, but definitely not going to be snookered. Trouble here, a little flick on the green 6. I think he planned on getting more of the green 6 to maybe bump it out of the way.
Saw Alcaide throwing his hand up there as he left the table. Knew that hadn't gone to plan.
Little light with the draw stroke there. Now cueing not too awkwardly, not really over the 7, but a little beside it. Problem is, what can he do? Oh, he is somewhat over it.
Extension called.
Not only has the purple 5 become 2 or 3 times more difficult than he planned, but also gaining position on the green 6 now has become a little dicey. That's just as good as it gets, Michael. I mean, to put a little English on that as well, to avoid the brown 7. Oh, what a shot. Always like the way Copigny goes about things. Very unique in the manner to where he wants to really make the same delivery or process of delivery every time. That's why you'll see him get up off the ball quite a bit for a pro. Because if he gets out of his sequence when he's down on the ball, he doesn't like that.
Been around for some time. He was world champion 10 years ago next year. He almost played his brother in the final. Ko Ping Chung was beaten in the other semi-final by Shane Van Boning, who then lost the final to the man at the table now. It was actually an amazing year for Ko Ping because he teamed up with Chang Yu Lung to win the World Cup of Pool that year. Beat the England team of Mark Gray and Darryl Peach in the final in London.
Yeah, tons of pedigree here at the Whirlpool Masters. Many junior champions in the field.
He was 2-0 down. He looked for all the world like he was going 3-0 down. And now Ko Ping leads for the first time in the match against David Alcaide at 3 racks to 2. So we often refer to the Ko brothers, and they arrived together this morning, as indeed they always do. Ko Ping Chung ordinarily would be sitting watching this match, but of course he's going to be playing a bit later, so he's over at the practice tables at the moment, getting himself ready for the clash with Victor Zielinski. They'll be playing for the right to go through and face Joshua Filler, who struggled early on last night against Declan Catchy, but finished very strongly and won 9-6 in the end. The champion of 2 years ago, Filler. Yeah, it wasn't just all about the World Masters last year for Ko Ping. He did so well in so many other tournaments. Semi-finals of the UK Open, quarter-finals of the Spanish Open. And in the lead here for the first time.
Needs break, leading by 3 racks to 2.
Yeah, another nice break off, really. More of what we're used to seeing. Get a little movement on the 9.
Push out called.
It's near the corner. The blue 2 did get trapped on the bottom rail. The black 8 impeding, so it will be a push out. If you're new to 9-ball pool, the push out is the only comes up the first shot after the break, whether it be the breaker making a ball or the incoming player off of a dry break. They have one chance to declare push out, as you can see, and roll the cue ball wherever they want.
Choice.
And the incoming player has the option to take the shot or pass it. Now, this is, you always want to be very difficult with the push out, really on any level, but especially the top players. The safety side of things hasn't been so good for Ko Ping here, so I wouldn't doubt David passes this. Yeah, I was going to say it's very difficult anyways. Now the 6-8 and green 6, the black 8 and the purple 5 are kind of big balls. Does he bank the 2 back at the cue ball now and trying to use those? Does he cut the 2 towards the lower left and try and get some cover that way? He's going to need some contact here. He's going to get it, but the 2's going to near the pocket. Got to believe the jump shot is coming, and David's going to be a big favorite with a 3-9 looming in the lower right. Never wanted the blue 2 to near that pocket there, Michael. So again, the safety's a bit off for Ko Ping at the moment.
Well, that had to go right, didn't it? Because if it somehow had gone wrong, it's leaving a good chance for Ko Ping to make it 4 racks on the spin.
Extension called.
As it is, the chance now presents itself to draw level. The exchange over the push-out in the end proved critical in that rack. A rack which is finished with Alcaide making a 3-9 combination to draw level, as we see it once again. So it is now Alcaide 3, Copenhagen 3. After losing 3 in a row, David Alcaide really needed to win rack 6. And with a jump shot on the blue 2 and then a 3-9 combination to finish, he did just that. Alcaide breaking then at 3-all.
Yeah, and again, we're getting a little bit of 9-ball movement early. Watch the replay. See the 9 kind of come out of the rack. That's when the players tend to miss the 1 on the side a little more often. Can't ask for a better starter on the 1 in the upper right, but you can see the blue 2 kind of pinned, so a lot of cue ball movement required here.
Yeah, Alcaide's last 2 breaks now, both dry. And if the 9 keeps moving around like that, I think by the law of averages, we're very likely to get a golden break at some point.
Yeah, difficult to go forward unless he can cheat the pocket, really. And slick table, the ball doesn't want to move as much, so he may come backwards here, kind of between the red 3 and the 9, maybe. Went by the 4. He's got to get past the pink. May get a rail first shot on the blue 2. I feel like it is makeable. Good thing for him going after this. Very hard from this angle to hang the blue 2 in the corner. It usually either wants to go or kind of get away from the pocket as the cue ball comes up table. Looks like to make it, though, he maybe has to elevate the cue or maybe play a little slower speed so the spin will grab. Lying a lot of left here. He's got the cue stick up in the air. Great shot. Always, Copenhagen reminds me a lot of Albin, the way they play, very solid in all departments, but then can come with the big shot as well as anyone. Just they don't have to make many of those big shots because when they get control of the cue ball, they stay in line with position so well. Have a playable shot here on the red 3. Looks like he's taking on the lower left. That's sweet. Difficult play on the pink 4, having to track the cue ball back and forth. Easy to overcut this ball. Trying to get the movement on the white rock. Play just 1 rail, probably pretty smart instead of going back and forth. Now, does he float this? Does have a natural to come 1 rail between the green 6 and the 9 all the way to the top rail and back down. This is where the camera will fool us on how much angle is on this. Looks like he's going to float it.
Talked about how his safety hasn't really been the standard we'd expect so far in this match, but when it comes to this side of the game, he's playing himself into a nice rhythm now.
by the 9. 2 cushions, kind of at the 7. You know, it's just like any other sport, really. It's kind of like that first tee box in a big golf tournament, right? The first match. Settling in a bit more now. Fell a little off angle here. Playing pretty conservative there, but smart. No reason to make black 8 very missable. It's always going to have a bit of a shot on the 9.
And with that, Ko Ping-yi assumes the lead once again over David Alcaide in this first round match. 4 racks to 3. So it's a Ko brothers double for you this afternoon here at the World Masters. There is Ko Ping-chung, who had a wonderful 2023, which explains why he's now coming into this tournament as the number 4 seed. And he'll be next up. His opponent, Victor Zielinski, is the young Polish player over on the other practice table. A player who has established himself probably in the 2nd tier, not quite one of the very top players yet, but I think we've been expecting him to make that breakthrough to the very highest level for a few years now, and still perhaps waiting.
Yeah, it just shows you how difficult, you know, our sport is. We talk about the top 14 here, and of course the 2 very deserving wild card players, but I mean, I think all of us now, the way the game's evolved, we see like 40 or 50 that can really win these events, you know, in the open events anyways.
Well, you look at the Matchroom tournaments last year, you look at all the guys coming through to win. David Alcaide himself, big name, but he was out of form. Dang Jinhu, who we hadn't seen for so long, he won one of these tournaments as well. And equally so, you look at the guys who didn't win any of the big Matchroom Open events in 2023. It was such an unpredictable and wide open year.
Ko Ping-yi to break, leading by 4 racks to 3.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Michael. If you just go back and look at the semifinalists from each of the events, you would say there's a lot of names that maybe some don't know quite so well, but just great players. This is more of the break shot, and this is where I thought he did have the advantage. Now, of course, the blue 2 with a nice kiss, but the 1 in the side down. It's a little 9-ball action as well.
That 9-ball's clocked up quite a few air miles already in this match. Surely at some point it's going to drop somewhere.
Yeah, we had 1 yesterday. Shaw almost duplicated it, and just a few racks later. You would think, what's he waiting on here? But the blue 2's easy. The 3, not bad. The red 3 near it. Problem really is the pink 4 getting back for the purple 5 all the way up the table. I'd like to have a little more out of that, just so he's not so stretched, because it's very important, this shot coming up, the speed control on the cue ball to fall nicely, probably kind of straight in on the pink 4 probably. Cannot handle the angle to go into the brown 7 off the pink 4 when trying to gain position on the purple 5 up the table. It's a big shot here. Handle angle from this side, you can see the left side of the table pretty clear besides the black 8.
Extension called.
Yeah, 1 extension of 30 seconds allowed per rack, in addition to the standard 30 seconds allowed for each shot. You hear the beeps going, that means there are 5 seconds left.
Copigny. As soon as he struck that, he didn't like it. Took him a couple times getting down on the ball. So a little unsettled at the moment still. Now has to play a safety, I believe. He could go for the cut, but can't reach it very well. He's probably going to knock the 5 around. Just kill the cue ball. Simple safety, soft safety we call it.
For this week, the last 9-ball pool shot played in front of the Sky Sports cameras was by David Alcaide at Alexandra Palace just a few weeks before Christmas when he potted the winning 9-ball in the Mosconi Cup, continuing a wonderful personal record that he has in the tournament. In fact, he's now the only player to have played in 5 Mosconis for either side without ever being on a losing team.
Yeah, surprising. I guess the 5, the purple 5, does go to the lower right. Oh, he could hit that much of it. He jumped over the 6, the green 6, after contacting purple 5. You don't see that very often. There is a pocket here on the 5, but apparently not a full pocket.
Been in front a couple of times in this match already. Never been more than a single rack ahead. Chances before him now. Max Lechner there, who put up such a good fight from 8-1 down against Alban Ocean last night. Almost got it back to 8-7, just missed that 3 in the 15th rack and ended up losing 9-6. Steadily, Copigny is strengthening his grip on this match. He's now won 5 of the last 6 racks, and he's 2 clear for the first time against David Alcaide at 5-3. Yeah, there's Max Lechner there, sitting next to Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, the reigning world champion, who'll be defending that title in about 6 weeks' time now in Saudi Arabia. You couldn't meet 2 nicer guys than those 2 anywhere in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that's just how the pool players are, really. I mean, we kind of interact with a lot of different sporting events, and the pool players always get a lot of praise from people that come kind of newly into the sport. And just a lot of fun guys that are fierce competitors.
I've got to say, I've worked in so many different sports over the last quarter of a century or so: snooker, golf, football, rugby, and other sports at times as well. And not to criticize players from those sports, but I can honestly say, as a group, the pool players to deal with and just to chat to are ahead of any other sport that I've ever been involved in.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, was labeled at one time, you could say it either way: a hard way to make an easy living or an easy way to make a hard living, whichever it may be. But you know, it's just it's one of those games. After a while, you don't take it personal. You realize we're just all out there competing, and you know, we've all had our ups and downs, and that's just the way the sport is. And
one thing in which I think pool really stands out from all other sports, the level of appreciation from the top players of the opportunities they have. Out playing in these arenas for all this money, it's wonderful to see, and it's going very well for Copigny at the moment. He's 2 ahead now at 5-3.
Yeah, he's getting dialed in on the break shot, I'll tell you. Now a little fortunate again, the cue ball on the bottom cushion near the blue 2, but anytime you keep making the one on the side, you got to believe eventually things are going to open up.
in terms of reasonable predictions that turned out to be wildly wrong in the world of pool last year, Jeremy. I definitely scooped the prize for something I said about Copigny. He was beaten 10-0 by Skylar Woodward on the main table at the Spanish Open. I said at the end something along the lines of, "You'll never see this again," or "It might be a very long time." Turned out it happened again in the very next Matchroom Open event, and he was beaten 10-0 by Anton Raga.
Yeah.
They were isolated moments, really, in a really good year for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, again, it's kind of respect. The players amping up or gearing up for such a tough player of Copigny. But winter break format, that's the thing. We have so many close matches, but then occasionally there's just a couple special performances where the scores can be a little sideways, but it's usually not like one player just tripping over the finish line. It's just something special to watch, kind of like Kachi in that final UK Open. I didn't think the semifinal that Filler played could get much better. Very next match, Kachi topped that a bit.
Yeah, certainly my recollection of those two 10-0 defeats is that Copigny didn't do a great deal wrong. It was just Skylar Woodward. It was such good form at the time, and then Anton Raga.
Extension called.
His amazing run here in Germany, the European Open, just played so well.
Yeah, he's got to be careful here. Type of shot you don't want to end up really brutally thin on the purple 5, but again, you don't want to come across and get snookered behind the 9, so he's got to just play it a little bit careful. He's played beautiful speed here. Always difficult when you add that extra weight to the cue as well. Just wondering how the spin's going to react, the deflection on the cue ball. You can see he's getting stronger, huh, Michael? I mean, that's the feeling I'm getting.
He's one of those players who, he's playing well, can get into the sort of groove where his opponent is going to be sitting in his chair thinking, okay, hey, maybe this is the shot that's going to go wrong for him and let me back in. And then he just keeps on coming up with the answers, rack after rack, and it's starting to turn into that now.
Yeah, when you know you played the game, and you kind of get the sense, you know, when they get in that working mode a little bit, that's when it gets really scary. They're kind of out there by themselves and just going through their process. This guy, again, like so many, really rely on the process.
Yeah, it's not like watching a Joshua Filler or a Jason Shaw where it's obviously flashy and sparkling. Very, very efficient. And get the job done just as well. And that's certainly what's happening at the moment. It's the second break and run of the match for Copigny. He's now 3 away from victory. He leads David Alcaide 6-3. Francisco Sanchez Reyes, who'll be defending his World Championship title in a few weeks' time, is regularly to be seen watching his great friend and compatriot, and indeed World Cup winning partner, David Alcaide. They've been having a bit of a chat. A little bit of coaching is allowed between racks. Indeed, they may just have been chatting about other things. Great friends, travel everywhere together. Just like this man and his 2 brothers, one of whom is here this week. We'll be seeing Ko Ping Chung next, and he may not have to wait too much longer, because Copigny is just 3 away from victory.
Again, the one down in the side. Really kind of had a look on all the balls besides maybe the 9, I think, with the red 3 in the way. So that's always a good sign. Does have a play on the blue 2. The 6 near. Awkward shot because he can't avoid the 6, but he can't hit it thin enough to run the cue ball, it doesn't appear. And drawing off of it could be a little awkward as well. Now, when you're going into a ball, kind of figure how to, or how it's going into it, and keep it simple. Don't really try to manipulate too much, especially from distance. So essentially, don't take your eye off the prize with the blue 2. Oh, wow. He's doing good to avoid the green 6 there.
What we're seeing here is a match which really underlines that in this game, when you're in control of things, you've got to stay there for as long as you possibly can. Go all the way back to rack 3. David Alcaide looked like he was going 3-0 in front. Missed a 7 ball that you really would never have thought he was likely to have any trouble with. Well, that was very early in the match. Everything's been turned on its head since.
And he fell a little off angle here. He's going to have to hold the ball. I'm not sure going forward is too much of an option. Probably just simplifies, takes a little more distance on the purple 5, but couldn't agree more, Michael, that first off, didn't expect the miss, but you have to capitalize. That's why, like we talked about 2023, we saw some of those differences. It only takes a mistake or two for the favorite to get beat in these matches. Sometimes no mistakes, really. To me, what was so surprising about that miss is how much confidence he had struck so many other shots there early. Okay. Can he stun 2 rails out and maybe not get too thin on the brown 7? We saw the draw stroke on the 2, so he could draw 1 rail off the left long rail. I don't mind that. Take a little more distance on the 7, but maybe not quite so thin. I think that's the correct shot, really. Avoiding the top rail with the cue ball. Let the stroke out a bit more. Gonna get a roll here? I don't think so.
Just as we were talking about that missed 7 earlier on, by Alcaide is such a big turning point. We're seeing a potential watershed moment here. Well, having been handed this unexpectedly, I feel he's got to capitalize on it if there's to be any hope of turning this round.
Yeah, not too worried about these 3. What I'm thinking about is that break shot that's had 2 or 3 dry breaks already in this match.
Yeah, his last 2 have both been dry. And yeah, doesn't look like anything's going to go wrong here.
Fell a little straight. Does he want to cheat the pocket with a little stun? Does he want to draw back and play the 9 in the same pocket as the 8? Okay, he could cheat it. But yeah, huge miscue after some really nice opening shots here in rack 10.
All of a sudden, David Alcaide is back to only 2 behind. Just when it looked as though Copenhagen was going to get within a couple of racks of victory. The miscue proving pivotal there. So Alcaide back to 6-4. We're going to have a look again at that 7 ball that he missed in the 3rd rack. We've been talking about it so much. And you know, the thing is, Jeremy, he'd done so much hard work to get to that stage. Even at this level, is there sometimes the possibility that players just get a little complacent, they feel they've done the hard part, and now it's all just routine, and then something like this happens?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every pool player goes through the phase of, what am I doing wrong? I run the first 6, 7 balls nice, and then I have a let up at the end, and what happens is, you know, during the rack, you have all this focus, all this traffic you have to get through, and all these things that kind of keep the mind intact. And once you've gotten 6 or 7 balls down, you can see kind of the finish line for the rack. Easy to lose focus.
More chatting with Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. As we were saying earlier, the two Spanish players could be going head-to-head in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, all kinds of interesting draws. Mario, he gets through. He plays Alvin Ocean will play another
Rack
fellow
11,
Austrian.
David Alcaide to break, trailing by 6 racks to 4.
All summed up by referee Julian Roper.
All right, a little different breaking position. Can't blame him. Another dry break. Now that one wasn't the best hit on the one. I thought it was a bit thin. But that'll kind of make you pull your hair out just a piece at a time. Actually not too thin, maybe a little thinner on the one than he's used to, but maybe trying to change it up after 2 dry breaks in a row and now a third.
Push out called.
And I think that's part of the beauty of the break rule that the players voted on.
Choice.
What was it, about a year and a half ago or so, something like that. But is you have to be patient because it can change, and you know, you can be frustrated at the beginning of the match. Maybe not things go your way as far as not only balls down but shots after the break and whatnot. But so you got to keep at it.
What we're seeing is far fewer matches where a player comes off the table having been heavily beaten and can say with honesty, well, I never had a chance. You do get more chances now. You do get your opportunity to get in. It's harder for an opponent to just disappear over the hill and out of sight.
I think he did get the partial snooker. May leave a 1 jump shot into the middle. May have left more than that, really. Yeah, he can play the 1 in the corner. Can he get the 1 onto the 9? I don't think he has enough of the 1 to play it in the middle, but maybe off the 9 in the middle, maybe at the 9.
Called.
I think he may be able to just roll this in as well.
Well, that gives a slightly better view from above. Still not sure it's conclusive.
He's going to love that. Did he get enough on the cue ball? I think he's a little shy. David telling us that with a bit of a head shake. Like a safety. Bring the cue ball near the 6. Hey, fluke in.
Isn't it amazing we talk about turning points and players start to play better or worse after them, but so often when the momentum even starts to turn your way, you get little things like that happening for you. needed to make it count by following up. And instead, he's given Copenhagen an opportunity here to reassert himself in this match. So there's the fluke, the two just flicking off the 9 into the side pocket. Not able to follow it up with the red 3 at pace from distance.
Yeah, the key, what you said there, I think, was the at pace. And I think David's such a smart player. He avoids having to play balls at pace as well as anyone. But I think that's the one where he's a hair behind that top tier level when some power is needed with a difficult shot. Not saying he misses them very often, but maybe just a hair more than that upper class in the World Nineball Tour. But when they're falling for David, that's when he can win the tournament for sure, as he showed us at the European Open last year. Okay, fell a little straight here, so he's not going to try and get a whole lot closer to the green 6. Just get an opening to kind of spin the cue ball, kind of throw this in and go around the black 8.
Total balls potted was momentarily there on exact double figures. And though there are only 2 racks in it, although you would have to say more likely than not, be staying that way for much longer.
Yeah, I think David did get a combination or 2 to win an early rack, so that'll kind of taint that stat a bit.
But you often see it, don't you, that the balls potted stat for reasons like that is wildly in disparity with the overall score in the match.
Yeah, one of the most important stats you'll see, though, that's one that shows us the winner more often than not. Gotta get to just 2 games away, a chip-in 9-ball, and he'll be breaking what will be game number 12.
Couldn't make the fluke on the 2 count. David Alcaide missed the 3, sat down for the rest of the rack, and Copenhagen is back to 3 ahead at 7-4. Trivia time for you, Jeremy. In what year did a defending champion last win a match in the World Masters? As we just look again at the 3 that he missed and the pace that he was putting into it. Key moment ultimately in that 11th rack. So any thoughts, JJ? Want to make a guess?
Yeah, I do. A defending champion last
winning a match in the World Masters.
In the next year, you mean?
Exactly,
right,
coming back.
Coming back.
The way Copenhagen is trying to do today.
Right. It may be as crazy as SVB.
You're absolutely right. In 2017. So basically, the 5 stagings of the World Masters since then, the defending champion has gone out in his first match every time, and none of them have even been close. You think of Kazakis losing 7-0 to Denis Orkolio a couple of years ago. So you have to go back 7 years to the last time a player came into the World Masters as defending champion and even got past the opener. But that looks increasingly likely to change here because Copenhagen only needs 2 more.
You must spend some time figuring these questions out, Michael. I'll tell you, that's a pretty good one.
Need to get out more, JJ, but it's been raining too much for that.
Again, the 1 very consistent in the side. It's been good. The 2's not going to agree as much here, so we're going to probably see Alcaide at the table. Maybe making a decision after a push out. They have a little sliver of the blue 2, but I don't think he has anything really to play with.
That run of defending champions losing their first match was actually started by our colleague Carl Boyes. He beat David Alcaide. Alcaide was defending champion for the first time back in 2018, and that started a sequence whereby it's happened every year since.
Yeah, of course, these players all know each other's strengths and weaknesses, or well, let's say less strengths. I wouldn't say weaknesses with any of these players, but I think Coppini was kind of maybe thinking about challenging David on a long shot on the blue two. Going to go more on the conservative side, and
David, it's your choice.
David will make a great decision here on what wants to take on the shot or pass it back. Almost has kind of a roll at this bank shot, but don't think that'll be the case. Does he thin this, trying to go a couple rails behind the pink 4? There's a lot of cover with the blue 2 there. The purple 5, the black 8, and the 9. Push out a lot of times very psychological, you know, it can get you to where you're kind of playing not to lose versus playing to win kind of mentality.
Play again, please, Co.
It's just something you don't see very often. 2 push outs given back, 2 consecutive push outs. He's looking at the shot I was talking about, really trying to fan the right side of the blue 2, coming 2 rails at the pink 4.
Extension call.
Again, all kinds of ways to get safe, plus maybe a very treacherous safety if he can get up behind the pink 4. I would look at the cross corner bank, and that's why I was talking about trying to play not to lose versus trying to win. Instead, you know, maybe David's thinking maybe I should try to bury this bank right here, get back in this match. Okay, he's attacking, I think. Didn't want to hit it long. Could afford it if he banked it short. That way the blue 2 would end up on the short rail, and at least David would have to play a safety, but now in position to take on a cut shot. Try and get the ball rolling, you may say. He's not even attacking. I'm surprised he's not taking on the cut shot here. It's not that hard. It's not a hanger by any means, but definitely was a path to good position. Didn't even get the snooker, Michael. See, Coppini carried the jump cue. Now he's got the jump cue back in his hand. And this may be so he can dig on this and bring the cue ball more down to the bottom cushion off the blue 2.
Alcaide now at the stage where his next mistake could very well be his last involvement in the tournament. Especially when you consider Coppini, if he gets the break back, he's already run out from it a couple of times in this match.
Yeah, and the last shot he had was a bit thinner than this, of course, but he was so much closer to it and could cue the ball so nicely. I figured he would attack.
Extension call.
Now again, looks like he's a little on the fence. Got to put a little into this. Probably goes around the 7, maybe the brown 7 between the purple 5 and 8 ball with the cue ball. No question about it. Coppini's going to attack, and it's not how, you know, the mentality is not to look at a shot and try to make it easier, right? Trying to figure out a way, how can I make this easier on myself? You just got to kind of suck it up and bury these balls. Little flick on the red 3 and the purple 5, but he's going to get a cut shot.
And now they're all there for him.
And just absolutely one of the best in our game at that shot. The thin cut shot down the rail at what would be a somewhat lighter speed. Always a nervy shot. Can play the cue ball between the black 8 and 9 here. Or the purple 5 in the side. Looks like he's going to go forward. Maybe stunning. Got to go a bit. Really shocked he just didn't stun one rail out, because he was always between the 8 and 9 already. Of course, he would have taken more angle, but man, that was surprising. Didn't expect that. Definitely a favorite here, though, 75% at least.
Oh, really good, and it wasn't guaranteed he'd be on the 6. It's turned out well from every point of view. Shouldn't have left himself in that position, but recovered the situation immediately.
That's more of the routine you'll see from him pretty much every shot. Gets down, he takes 2 longer kind of pre-strokes, a couple little small ones, then pulls the trigger. Caught that a little thin, so now again a little out of line with the cue ball, and definitely a shot we've seen missed in this event a couple times, similar to Alvin Ocean's miss yesterday to close that match. I think it was the Brown 7.
Nervy moments. It's just toppled over. 1 or 2 moments of anxiety during this run out, but it's a routine 9 to finish. Copigny's been breaking very well in this match, and he'll be breaking for the match when we come back. He leads 8-4. David Alcaide won the first 2 racks of this match. He's only won 2 more in the whole match since then, and that's why Copigny is now on the hill at 8-4.
Rack 13, Copigny to break, leading by 8 racks to 4 on the hill.
This is doomsday here for David, it looks like. Michael, you could make this combination on the 2-5.
I don't know. Bit out of practice these days, JJ.
Yeah, watch you cue it up, though. You can handle yourself, it looks like. A 4-7, the pink 4 onto the brown 7, a little tricky. That's for sure. Looks playable, though. He's made 2 on the break, and of course, the shots after the break, I think we've seen a little difference between the 2 players here in the latter 2/3 of this match. But really, the break shot is what I think got Copigny going, really.
If he does get through, it raises the prospect of the co-brothers playing each other. It would be in the semi-finals if they both get that far. It would seem like an exciting prospect, but less so if you remember the match they played against each other in this tournament 2 years ago. It was horrible, JJ.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about with Ocean a little bit and Max Lechner. You never know with 2 close ones. Of course, 2 brothers no closer than that. And it was the same at the PLP this year in Connecticut. That it's by far the least quality match from both players, and you could see it was just awkward for both. All right, here he could lose the pink a little bit, so he may float this with a little left spin, trying to hold the pink there. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Overcut that. Maybe overcut it enough to get this cut shot. And one of the best with the natural cut shot, running the cue ball up and down.
Extension called.
He was going with the closed bridge there for a moment in his hand. That means he may spin this, actually, versus just leveling out with a high ball.
And I think it's safe to say it really is all over now. Isn't it amazing how just one shot very early on in a race to 9 can have such an impact? Talked a lot about David Alcaide's missed 7. Who knows what would have happened if he'd potted it? But it certainly shifted the momentum. And having been 2-0 down, Complacency has won 9 of the next 11 racks. The 7-year itch is well and truly over. For the first time since 2017, the defending champion clears the first hurdle in the World Masters. It's a run that's been ended by Complacency. He's defeated David Alcaide by 9 racks to 4, and he is through to the quarterfinals.